Welcome to the Diversity Pivot Podcast. I'm your host, Julie Kratz, and this season we will be unpacking real trends, hot topics in the workplace around allyship and inclusion. Our goal is that each week you leave with tangible tools, information, practical strategies that you can take back to allies at your organization. Let's dig in to this week's topic. Allies, I have a hot topic this week. It's back to school time. And when I think about the opportunity to reset inclusion and the expectations in the classroom and the personal spaces and the sports spaces and places our kiddos are hanging out, what a great opportunity to dial in on the importance of inclusion. And so I wanted to share some practical tips our partners at the Little Allies have put together, which is an organization that's dedicated to helping facilitate experiences so that all kids feel seen, heard, and belong in the spaces, all spaces of their life. And so that's something organization that I founded and I'm president of the board of. So full disclosure, but we're really passionate about having inclusive conversations with kiddos. And a lot of times, parents, educators, caregivers tell us they don't know where to start. So here is your starter kit on how to go back to school inclusively because we're having parent teacher conferences. We're on the holiday season. We'll have winter parties and things where these conversations are going to come up. My kiddo celebrates a different holiday than maybe the mainstream Christian holidays that get a lot of emphasis and attention here in the United States. Or, hey, we have a new classmate that identifies as gender neutral or non-binary. How do I have that conversation? Maybe we have more cultural differences this year. Whatever it is, consider that an entry point, perhaps an excuse to get the conversation started, because we're often looking for excuses on how to not have the conversation. We don't have enough time, resources, it feels hard and scary. I want to protect my kids. I get all that. But these conversations are just beginning, and young people are more apt to bring them up. So, sadly, as we start the 2023 school year, we know that some weird things are happening in the news cycle. The anti-LGBTQ plus legislation has hit record highs. We have book bans, drag queen performance restrictions, gun violence, the restriction of AP African American studies in some states. So these kids are growing up in unprecedented times, and they're also the most likely to support issues on inclusion. So, what I love about the Little Allies is what we've done is brought together parents, caregivers, and educators with tools and information. And one of my deepest allies, Erica Young, has been on this podcast many, many times to talk about issues of race and inclusion and allyship. What she said is that many of us wait until wait to learn the language until we come face to face with injustice. And what we need to do is invest in the lives of children so that we have dynamic, inclusive, and diverse spaces where children can thrive long term. And I just love what she said about that, and shout out to her. But the 10 things that we've come up with at Little Allies that we think can help jumpstart this inclusive conversation more simply, more tangibly, is the first and probably the most important is start with why. Why is this important? Why is this important to young folks? Why is this important personally to you? Has someone in your life been adversely affected by the lack of diversity or the adversity sometimes of having a diverse background? Or maybe you personally have a story, a time when you felt different, didn't belong. Start with your why. Why is this important? Why is this important for kiddos? That will help you keep the energy when times get tough and when hard conversations need to happen. And then bridge empathy. Everyone has different lived experiences, and we're never going to fully understand those that are not our own. So, empathy is that bridge making tool to lived experiences that you yourself have not had. So if you're white, you're not going to fully understand the experiences of people of color, and that is fair. If you're a cisgender male, meaning you identify as male and that was what was on your birth certificate, you may not understand the lived experiences of women or those of other gender identities. No one's asking you to do that. We're asking you to empathize and try to understand. Which the third idea is to inspire curiosity. And I love tangible statements like, I wonder, or help me understand, or what makes you think that? How do we get here? That opens up the door to curiosity. And oftentimes our kids want us to listen more than speak. So ask before assuming. And our fourth tip is ask, do you want me to listen or you want me to help? It is such a powerful tool when there's a bullying situation, when there's a non inclusive event that happens, something sad or bad happens, and we freeze and we go into, explain mode. Kids want to listen, just want us to listen. Hey, what happened? What does support look like for you? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to help? Most of the time, they want you to listen. The fifth piece is diversify your media. Look at your bookshelf, the movies you watch, your music collection. You're probably listening and reading and watching artists, performers, authors, producers like you. Most of us have some affinity bias. So try to broaden, increase your net, and that's a slow process. It takes time. But there's some really great curated content and recommendations that we would make. Just head over to our resources page of Inclusion School. .com. That's a partner on another podcast I host with Simone Morris. Has some great, great resources, and so does littleallies.org. Here's another one. Check your bias. And I love asking myself the question, how do I know that's true, right? Before I make an assumption about somebody's class, background, language capabilities, what they can do with their body. If they have a disability, how do I know that's true? Right. And that's where the implicit association test is really helpful. It's free, it's online, it takes no longer than 10 minutes. Everyone's got some form of bias. If you don't know what it is, it's really hard to manage it. So that's a great tool to consider taking. It's more for adults than for kiddos, but teenagers would really benefit from it too. Another tip, get out in your local community, donate, volunteer. If you live in a like me community, as most Americans do, that's just the way that redlining and gerrymandering and all sorts of things has created, still like me environments that are highly segregated. Try to get out to spaces where folks are different from yourself and your local community. And for many people, that's, it could be a few miles away. It could be just joining a local community that has a unique purpose, and you can help existing efforts. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Share your story, back to your why. If you've been personally affected, you felt different, didn't belong, or, were in a situation that didn't feel so good, storytelling is one of our biggest human communication tools. And so share your story, invite others to share your story around you. You'd be surprised how much kiddos can relate to that storytelling approach. And diversify your network. Who are you inviting into your home? Who are you having dinner with? Who are you not having dinner with and inviting into your home? Kids pick up on this, and they tend to model their social circles around the social circles of their parents, caregivers. So just be really intentional about diversifying folks that your kiddos get to see you spending time with to model that. And the last tip is keep showing up. This is not a one and done conversation. It's a journey, not a destination, as we always say. Keep a running list of topics and ideas and show up, for this next generation of little allies. They're paying attention to our behavior every single day, which I know as a parent, a caregiver myself, feels really daunting and overwhelming. This is a big deal. But when you get to see those moments, those aha moments, the times when they get it, the times when they intervene and help other kids around them get it, we can really help prevent the next generation from absorbing the problems of past generations. Because as much as I'd love to say, kick the can to them to solve the problem, these are centuries old problems. They're not likely to be solved even with this next generation. So let's equip them with tools, information. Let's have more proactive conversations with them now so they can be in a position to lead positive change as they approach adulthood. Thank you, allies. Such an important conversation today. Thank you for listening to the Diversity Pivot podcast. My hope is that you walked away with a tangible tool, insight, or information that you can share with other allies on the journey. If you liked this week's episode, please leave us a review. Your feedback means a tremendous amount to us. We'll be back next week with another hot topic.